Black economic empowerment was meant to fix the injustice of the past, but today many say it's lost its way. The DA was once it scrapped, calling it a breeding ground for corruption. We're going to be discussing this and what's the end game for DA is. With me here is Mustafa Jinodu. I'm still Afolabi Olaluko.
Okay, so B DA is trying to play both sides. They're saying that money and empowerment for individuals should be based on need and economic need, and for poor people, whether they're white or black, and there shouldn't be just BE, which is black empowerment, because that's racial. And they're saying that it should be based on merit and also on need. So you have to be people who are poor and things like that. That is more important than being black. But at the same time, they want to focus on outcomes. The system that they want to give money to people for starting businesses and everything, the system rewards companies for measurable contributions such as job creation and poverty reduction. Those types of companies would only be mostly white in South Africa. Do you see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
notice how B is supposed to be about individuals who are poor, but now they're mentioning companies. So now when you mention companies, they don't mention companies which uh, are run by people who are poor and need help. They just mention companies. This is a distraction for them to find more capital from the South African government to fund business people who are most likely, a lot of them will be white rather than black. Because if you look at companies that are already performing well, they're usually companies that are not run by blacks for several reasons. We know that there's economic corruption amongst blacks in South Africa. My argument is that the blacks have to be corrupt rather than the whites because they've been held down so long and the system hasn't worked for them, that their only answer after that is corruption. So now they say the Economic Inclusion for Our bill. This proposed legislation seeks to amend the Public Procurement Amendment Act to repeal race-based preferential procurement. So they didn't want it to be based on race. And basically they were saying they don't want black people to get redress through this system. They're going to have a scoring system called value for money, assess cost effectiveness. Listen to this word, Afalabi, technical capacity and reliability. Afalabi, when you think about technical capacity and reliability, doesn't that already, what do you think about that? Doesn't that already say you already have capital and money?
Sure, sure, sure.
So what they're saying is that the rich should get more money because you have to, or the rich or those who are already doing well, who have the technical capacity. Like now we have a show, our connections aren't good. Under that, they say you young black man, you're poor, you're trying to do a show, you don't have technical capacity. But the whole point of the BE is to give technical capacity to
Yeah.
blacks and to people who've been underrepresented for years through money. Then they say they want to have economic inclusion. Then under that, they said evaluates contributions to UN Sustainable Development Goals like human development, economic empowerment, environment stability, inclusive communities, and government. So they're saying they want to now judge your company by how you can be sustainable. Once again, if you're a struggling um, entrepreneur, you don't have that already. Yeah. Then they say disqualification criteria. Businesses with a proven record of fraud or corruption would be excluded. Uh, who do you think they're talking about?
Yeah, basically you're right. They're white
They're talking
owned.
about ANC. They're talking about ANC. They're
Yeah,
saying that
they're
if you
talking
already
about
have
the
fraud,
ANC. Yeah, sure.
so
There is
I'll agree with them. ANC should not be able to get tenders for BE anymore. The government needs to give tenders for BE to young black people, young white people who are poor too, colored people, and everybody who has a good business plan, has done their work, and can and has done something towards that, which shows that they're reliable. Second of all, there needs to be BE in South Africa because South Africa has a history of racism and exclusion for blacks and coloreds. So to balance that, we need to start looking for suitable candidates for contracts who are black, who are colored, but also trustworthy. But some of these should not go to white people. We're not saying that whites shouldn't get any, but there should be a quota put aside for people of color to give them a chance to catch up since they're falling behind in reliability and capacity to produce. What do you think, Afolabi?
Yeah, absolutely. They should start looking for black qualified people who have the skill set and they have the wherewithal and the capacity to carry through, not necessarily because BE is a tool or basically an identity of the ANC, to promote equality, because ANC too have shown over the years that they're not credible, and that when it comes to corruption, they have been found dipping their hand in the cookie jar every now and then. But like you rightly alluded to in the beginning of this show, white-owned companies already control most of South Africa's wealth. They already control most of their capital and business networks. So scrapping the BE could cement their dominance rather than make it a level playing field. That is where my fear is. And then there have been existing inequalities. Without race-based laws, the Black entrepreneurs may struggle to compete in the markets where white businesses have had a head start for generations, to access credit, education, and opportunities. So, well, this is being disguised under some kind of meritocracy, and I feel the DA promotes a non-racial merit-based system. But critics, like many critics that I read about, say that merit often reflects existing privilege, not equality opportunity. So that's where I see this. I smell around with the DA, and it
Yeah,
looks like they're trying to
no, no, no.
consolidate their power base, wealth, and capital.
Oh yeah, have no doubt. See, the DA is a white supremacist structure, but they can say, "Oh, we don't use race, we use merit." But merit already belongs to you, so they know what they're doing.
Yes,
So my
yes.
argument is that if the DA really cares about South Africa, what they need to do is target the corruption in the ANC and say, these be can still be given to black people, but now we should scrutinize it more to make sure that it's not just people giving it to their friends. But they don't want to do that because that's not their agenda. Their agenda is to undermine the ANC. And also, like I said, I'm in agreement of government giving social development grants to white people too, and to other groups that are doing well in South Africa. But at the same time, we need to give a little bit more quota to blacks and other things to address the fact that in black communities there's crime and there's violence, there's drug selling, because those communities don't have opportunities for grants and government tenders. So we need to give more to them because they're more in need. And also because if those areas improve, all of South Africa improves. It improves it for black and white. What are your last thoughts?
Yeah, so basically what I feel is that already big established, mostly white firms would easily meet performance or innovation criteria under the DA's new bill. And while emerging Black-owned businesses might be left behind, and if you look at the political optics, they're not good. They favor the DA because the DA's base is still seen as largely white and middle class. So I feel that this policy aligns with their economic interest, not necessarily grassroots empowerment. That's just the way I see it. It's just basically
Yeah,
about
I agree.
economic interest, not
So
grassroots empowerment.
yeah, and I agree. So South Africa should have an overall, the government should spend money on building up small business owners and everything. And we know that the predominant population in South Africa is black. I'm not saying they should be favored, but that means that we should be seeing a lot of black people getting funding for these things and white people too. But there's a disparity within the black communities and they need
Oh,
empowerment and
absolutely. And
they
this
need
has not
jobs.
addressed that. This has not
Yeah.
addressed
And
that.
it has and also the bigger issue is that the government needs to spend money on public schooling where it's needed. If you spend it where it's needed, it's not needed in white neighborhoods, which are private schools. It's needed in black neighborhoods where kids go and they can't even be safe because they can beat up the teachers and bring guns. So it's not a racist policy to uplift the black community in South Africa because what you're doing is you're not bringing them above the whites, you're bringing them to the same level. All right, take
Yeah.
us out, Alfalabi. What are your thoughts?
Yes.
Take us out.
Yeah. So basically, I feel that South Africans view this proposal as a step back, possibly before 1994, where wealth was concentrated in a small, privileged minority. And it's on this note that we round up a very brilliant show by myself and Mustafa. We'll be back again with South African politics. From here, it's good night.
All right, stop recording. You know me, I like to talk.
Okay.